reading verses 3, 5, 16 and 17. Let me share my screen and then start it. Okay. We'll start with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Akshuramilitam Tasmai Shri Guru Namaಃ Shri Chaitanya Krishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Tatmamayam Vati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadikam Shri Vaishnavaśya Shri Rupa Sakidatam Sagaranatam Savivam Savetam Savadutam Parijan Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagaralita Shri Vishnu Khantam Shri He Krishna Taruna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanam Sukhe Devi Pranamami Hariti Panchakalpatarubhasya Chakripa Sindhu Vahevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasthaya Bhutale Namaste Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarini. Hare Krishna everyone. So we are reading this verse, these two verses, 3:5:16 and 3:5:17. We'll get started with 3:5:16. Sa Vishwajanma Sthiti Samyamarthe Krityavata Prakrita Sakti Chakara Karmani Ati Purushani Yanishvara Krityaya Tani Mahyam Sa Vishwajanma Sthiti Samyamarthe Krittavatara Pragrita Sakti Chakara Karmani Ati Purushani Yanishvara Krityaya Tani Mahyam. Synonyms. Saha, the personality of Godhead. Vishwa, universe. Janma, creation. Sthiti, maintenance. Samya Arthe, with a view to perfect control. Krita, accepted. Avatara, incarnation. Pragrita, accomplished with. Shakti, potency. Chakara, performed. Karmani, transcendental activities. Ati Purushani, superhuman. Yani, all those. Ishvara, the Lord. Kirtaya, please chant. Tani, all those. Mahyam, unto me. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Kindly chant all those superhuman transcendental activities of the Supreme Controller, the personality of Godhead, who accepted incarnations fully equipped with all potency for the full manifestation and maintenance of the cosmic creation. Purport. Vidura was undoubtedly very eager to hear about Lord Krishna in particular. But he was overwhelmed because Lord Krishna had just passed away from the visible world. He therefore wanted to hear about him in his Purusha incarnation, which he manifests with full potencies for the creation and maintenance of the cosmic world. The activities of the Purusha incarnations are but an extension of the activities of the Lord. This hint was given by Vidura to Maitreya because Maitreya could not decide which part of the activities of Lord Krishna should he chant. We'll read the next verse also and then we'll try and understand or decipher what is here. Three 5:17. Sri Sukavach. Sae Bhagavan Vishtha Shatra Kausharavo Muni Om Sam Nishre Yasarthena Tamaha Bahu Manayan Tamaha Bahu Manayan. Sri Shuka Uvacha Sa evam Bhagavan Prishta Chatra Kausavaro Munihi Om Samnihi Shreyas Sarthena Tam Aha Bahu Manayan. Synonym. Sri Sukha Uvacha, Sri Sukdev Goswami said, Saha, he, Evam, thus, Bhagavan, the great sage, Prishtha, being requested, Shatra, by Vidura, Kausavaraha, Maitreya, Muni, the great sage, Pumsam, for all people, Nishreyasya, for the greatest welfare, Arthena, for that, Tam, unto him, Aha, narrated, Bahu, greatly, Manayan, honoring. Read the translation. Translation. Sukdev Goswami said, the great sage Maitreya Muni, after honoring Vidura very greatly, began to speak at Vidura's request for the greatest welfare of all people. Purport. The great sage Maitreya Muni is described here as Bhagavan because he surpassed all ordinary human beings in learning and experience. Thus, his selection of the greatest welfare for the world is considered authoritative. The all-inclusive welfare service for the entire human society is devotional service to the Lord. And as requested by Vidura, the sage described the same very appropriately. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So first of all, to seek forgiveness for all the Vaishnavas here. If I speak something good, it would be on account of my Guru Maharaj and the Vaishnavas. Anything wrong that I speak would be on account of me. So please be forgiven. So coming back to this verse, 5:16, 3:5:16. Let's read the purport again. Vidura was undoubtedly very eager to hear about Lord Krishna in particular, because he was overwhelmed. But he was overwhelmed because Lord Krishna had just passed away from the visible world. So the key word here that I could see was eagerness. Now, Vidura was one of the Mahajans. So eagerness is a very important subject. Eagerness is the most important subject matter for all of us to progress. We should analyze what our eagerness is. If our eagerness is on listening about the Lord, listening about gossip, listening about other things, what is our eagerness? The eagerness is what leads to everything. interest, curiosity, inquisitiveness. We hear in Bhagavad Gita also, out of the 4 types of people, one of them is very inquisitive, curious. So those people, when they are listening, uh, they keep asking. Eagerness also, inquisitiveness, not always directed towards the Lord. Somebody might be eager just to understand, but not necessarily for the Lord. Somebody is eager, they might want to hear about the impersonalist theory also, because they just like to listen to and hear, gain more knowledge. So that is a different kind of eagerness. But eagerness in general, especially in bhakti, is very important. So Bhagavatam, right? It all started with eagerness. How did Parikshit Maharaj, when he knows that he has only 7 days to live, he wanted to hear about Bhagavatam. Why? Because he was eager. All these great Rishi Munis who came and who were, on the banks of Ganges, who were all in Naimisharanya, all of them came. They all came because they were eager. They were trying to solve the problem of the world at that time. They knew that now Kali Yuga is here. That is why all this is happening. So they were eager to listen about the Lord, his pastime, to understand how to solve the problem. So they were asking again and again all different kind of questions. I mean, so far we have read in Bhagavatam, right? First canto, second canto. Now we are into third canto. All these chapters, verses, and the same thing continues all through. It's the eagerness of listener who is the most important, which is most important. Now, when we hear about the Lord, so they discussed, Bhagavatam was discussed, and questions were asked, and so we should ask this question ourselves. When we hear about the glories of the Lord, pastimes of the Lord, Bhagavatam, or any other pastimes, we feel good, right? We should try for our own self, we should try and analyze how much eager we are. Can we listen to it the entire day, days after days? Or if somebody comes and says, oh, I have something to tell you, and they are talking about something, someone, we get very eager. Okay, tell me more. Tell me more. We don't spare anyone. So our eagerness is misdirected. Has to be directed correctly. What solution did the sages find when Bhagavatam was discussed? They found that the solution is chanting, kirtan, listening about the pastimes of the Lord, hearing about the Lord, talking about the Lord. So those are the solutions. So eagerness is very important. Without eagerness, I don't think we could progress much. And it's there, then it's like the bhakti in a sine wave, keeps going up and down. So is the case with eagerness. About what? So eagerness about right thing also keeps going up and down. Lord Chaitanya, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he was telling about Ramanujaraya, saying he is so eager, because Ramanujaraya, when he was listening and he was writing all those things, that he is so eager that Chaitanya says, I mean, there are things in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and then there are these 2 verses, right? We could talk about these for hours. It's very important and very potent. Though the purport in itself is very small, but the content which is there is very significant. So Lord Chaitanya, what he was saying was that because of his eagerness of Ramanujacharya to understand everything, he is writing and speaking those things that whoever listens to him will get to know the Lord. Lord Chaitanya at that time himself was not saying I am Lord. But then he was saying people will get to know the Lord. So all that was coming because Ramanujacharya was very eager. When we are eager, that is when most of the doors start opening. Our bhakti, the inquisitiveness, that is the food for bhakti. That is the bhakti lata beej for it to grow. Eagerness in the right subject matter is very important. Another topic which is mentioned here is activities of the Purusha incarnation. So why did Vidurji wanted to hear about the Purusha incarnation? Or why do we like to hear more? We say, right, Chaitanya Charitamrita is the postgraduate study, doctorate, PhD. Graduation is Bhagavad Gita. Post-graduation is Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita is PhD. Why is it considered PhD? Because it's very close to us. Just 500 years back, these things happened. So we are able to relate more to them. For Lord Krishna, when we hear his pastimes, we know, okay, here is the Lord. So his pastimes are always godly. So he is Lord. Lord Chaitanya or all those other incarnations which are closer, right? We have that relatability. Now, there is a reason why you would have heard this Bhaktamal Katha and all that, right? There is a book, Bhaktamal, and then there are a lot of kathas which happen. You go to Vrindavan and other areas, you will hear a lot of kathas happening on Bhaktamal. Bhaktamal Katha. Equal number. I mean, in Vrindavan, whichever side you go, there is always somebody doing Bhagavatam. Not necessarily he is, whoever is doing, they may not be following the process and the system that we do, but they are also doing Bhagavatam. Similar quantity of Bhaktamal Kathas are also going. And there is huge turnout, a lot of people. Why? Because relatability with the people who are closer. Bhaktamal means garland of bhaktas, or it's a collection of stories from the past times of bhaktas which are closer to us after Lord Chaitanya. There are so many, right? So, for example, Narottam Das Thakur. We have read one book on Narottam Das Thakur. There are so many. Similarly, there are Advaitacharya and Srivasacharya. There are things on each of them. So there is that relatability because it's closer to you. It's closer to us. That is why it's not that Vidurji does not know anything. But he wants those Purusha incarnations to be spoken because that are closer in relatability. He is not saying, okay, tell me about the Matsya Avatar or Varaha Avatar. He's talking about Purusha incarnations, which are closer, more relatable. So relatability, and it's not just for him, it's also for whoever is reading Bhagavatam later, so like us. So relatability comes when we are closer to, when we are able to relate to, when we are closer to the subject matter. And we are saying, okay, the challenges faced by them are very similar, not exactly the same, similar to what we are seeing. So that is why I was asking about the Purusha incarnation. Now, I think all those things will come later. Let's also touch upon this verse. I can talk a little bit on this. This is again huge subject matter. There is a lot which can be spoken about this verse too. I will just touch upon, then we'll see if there are any comments. Being a working day, we'll try and stop at the time. So this verse, the key here is all-inclusive welfare service. So, greatest welfare of all people. So what they are doing here, I have a class with me. You want to speak? Okay. So, so the greatest of all welfare activities is that is what he's asking. So there are so many welfare activities we see, right? People do a lot of things. Somebody is making hospitals, somebody is making, donating, somebody is doing this, somebody is doing that. A lot of welfare activities are. What is the greatest welfare activity? What our Srila Prabhupada did, because of which we all are here. We all are discussing Bhagavatam and listening to Bhagavatam and all those things, right? That is one of the greatest welfare activities. I mean, we could keep talking about how much Srila Prabhupada did. I think we all know, we have all read Leelamrita. We know how much pain he went through, how much suffering he went through. If it was for us, how many would have survived crossing a ship with a heart attack? Somebody gets one injury here or there. We are out for 2 months. Okay, I'm hurt here. I cannot do this. I cannot do that. And he comes with that kind of. So his journey begins with it. I mean, for America, with a heart attack, not one, two, on a cargo ship, and then he is there and he is doing it for the welfare of everyone. I think in one of the instances, some interview, I think somebody asked Prabhupada, what was our karma that we found you? So Srila Prabhupada laughed and said, it was not your karma, it was I who came and found all of you by your shikha. So he was doing it so that we fallen ones, we could hear some of it, try and understand some of this, and then maybe gain some of it. It hits somewhere in our heart or mind, and then we start thinking a little more seriously. I think at this time, I would stop. If there are any questions, comments, we can take for like 3-4 minutes, and then we'll stop the class for today. Thank you. So anyone has any thoughts, comments, questions? You can take them.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for your wonderful class today, Prabhuji. I like the ending part, particularly you talking about Srila Prabhupada, how he had to endure difficulties after 2 heart attacks. He still came. He didn't even have time to recuperate. Like you said, if it was me or somebody else, we would have taken months long bed rest or whatever you want to call it. Then where does he land? He lands in a place where he knows nobody. Then of course he gets a respite for about 2-3 months, and then he comes back to New York, and in New York it's all hardship. It's really, when you're reading those parts of Leelamrita, you're really thinking, why is Krishna punishing, like taking a test of this magnitude, but then probably he was setting up Prabhupada for greater success. So thank you for that, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Great point you brought. It just reminded me when we went to Sadhu Sangha. Jayapataka Maharaj had a Bhagavatam class. We were fortunate. Typically, we don't. Actually, I had not seen Jayapataka Maharaj so far in person in my life so far. So first time, we had a good opportunity. So we got to meet him. We took his blessing. We took a Bhagavatam class. So at the end of the class, Jayapataka Maharaj, being the way he is, a very jovial, very, very pleasing personality he is. So So he said that, okay, the time of the class is done, but I want to have some question answers. So obviously the organizers, right, they cannot allow because it will disrupt the entire schedule. So they said, okay, Maharaj, we want to, but time is our enemy here. So I'll ask Sachinanda Maharaj, because I will ask you one question on behalf of everyone. And for those who have questions, they can probably ask you after the official class is over and breakfast break is going on, morning Bhagavatam class. So he asked, Maharaj, how are you? So Jayapataka Maharaj laughed. You all know his situation, right? So he laughed. He said, I am good. He says, if you ask me, by my body, I am a wreck. Because Jayapataka Maharaj, you know what all he has gone through. Lung transplant, liver transplant, stroke. Half of his body is paralyzed. He is undergoing skin cancer treatment at this time. He says, by my body, he is a wreck. But then, by his mind and his soul, he is great. He was laughing. He was very happy. So that is, and again, brings back to the topic of welfare. How people, how senior Vaishnavas, how these spiritual masters, how much they sacrifice for the welfare of others. I mean, he has a lot of reasons to not do what he's doing. He had no reason to come to Sadhu Sangha, where there are 3,000 people, sit in front of them, give a Bhagavatam class, meet all of them. Because physically, he would be undergoing so much trauma, problems, right? Pain, all that would be happening, but he's still doing. Why? Because they have welfare of everyone else in their mind. Okay, I think so. That was one instance I remembered while you were talking about it, Prabhu. I thought I'll share with everyone whoever was not there. Okay, any other comments or thoughts, last comments before we close the session today? Okay, so I think we'll stop now. Patitanam Vaishnavibhyo Namanam. Have a good rest of the day, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Please end the call, Prabhu. You are the host.
We'll close the call.
Yes, Prabhu.